TV Land. Thank you for joining your boy Freelancer Joe for Drinks with Joe. Oh wait, it was supposed to be Drinks with Joe. I'm mixing things up. I haven't started drinking yet. Although now that I listen to myself, it sounds like I'm slurring. Well, I appreciate. I hope that you'll bear with me as if I'm dragging today, which the more and more I think about it, I am definitely dragging. So, yeah, your boy Freelancer Joe had a late night last night. Not drinking either, but had a nice little gaming session with his boys online. And if there's one thing Joe likes doing, it's gaming. Although unfortunately or fortunately, it's just the way things are. The guys that I play with, they're not quite as much into Destiny as I am, and I'm not exactly a super Destiny fan either, so and they're a little bored with it, and they're probably not going to get the Forsaken DLC. Rather unfortunate, which means I'm going to end up soloing the thing by myself, at least until they break down, and they will eventually break down. But what that meant last night was that we ended up having to play Battlefield 4, and that is something that Freelancer Joe is not really a fan of. Just didn't play to win, just played to play, I guess, and at least chat with my boys as much as we could, because while Joe wasn't drinking, they definitely were. And speaking of drinking, let me go ahead and pour myself a drink. So, how y'all doing today? How was your week? I certainly hope your week is good, and that if you're in any of the areas affected by the weather, that I hope y'all doing okay and fine, as well as those that you care about. And obviously to any American viewers, that would be clearly in reference to the hurricane. I don't know if it's done rolling through or if it's still kind of hanging around a bit. I think the brunt of it has already gone by. I haven't really paid attention, but yeah. So hope everyone there is doing well. And but I was also referring to the fact that there are other weather-related events going on in the rest of the world, and if I remember correctly, there was a typhoon in the Pacific recently, and may have impacted a couple of countries. So hope everyone there is doing well, and if you know anyone there, that they're doing well. Allow me to get a drink first. Oh, man. You'll have to excuse me for just a second. Yeah. If you're gonna have a drink, might as well have a little vape too while you're at it. Ooh, neato. Oh, excuse me for a second. So, no, that's no good. If you happen to hear some extra whirring in the background, see, that's how bad I'm dragging. Hold on a second. There we go. That's how bad I'm dragging. I got nothing set up. I'm all over the place. I'm just not focused. So if you happen to notice a little extra whirring in the background, that's because I'm just about done ripping my audio collection. Still a couple of discs that I had burned for myself that I want to check what their contents are. So I'm looking through those. But now the big question is, I had originally intended for my digital copies for me to upload those up to Amazon's Glacier. And Glacier is essentially a long-term cloud storage thing, whereas S3 is something that you can pretty much upload and retrieve instantaneously. Glacier, the way it works is you upload it and you archive it, and then if you're going to want the things back, you submit a request, and I forgot how long it takes. At least a couple hours, if not maybe even a day or a few days. I mean, it's long-term storage. It's not meant for you to access anytime soon, which is perfect for this kind of media and the purposes that I'm using it for. I mean, I have local copies for what I want to play and listen to, but for a lot of other things, you know, I can just shuffle them off in the background, and it's a fraction of the cost, or it's a really, really small cost. At least I think. I'll have to check the rates. It should be like pennies. And the advantage of doing that, well, obviously over the CDs themselves, for example, is just the amount of space that gets taken up. But I had been thinking that I could probably fit all of it onto an external hard drive. Well, then again, that's a physical copy, right? And if anything happens to the hard drive, I'm hosed. Whereas, say, and a hard drive, while not incredibly expensive, would be more expensive. I mean, even if it just costs like $5 a month to store my things, I mean, if a hard drive costs, let's say $100, I mean, you know, that's 20 months. That's almost 2 years. And in the meantime, this is all hosted up in Amazon's thing, so I don't have to lug around a hard drive, and if anything happens to the hard drive, then I'm hosed, but it's always up in Amazon's cloud, so the only caveat, of course, is getting it up to the cloud, because I have to do a transfer, and that takes time. And then, of course, once it's up there, it's retrieval, which will take more time. So, I don't know. Now, another interesting possibility, though, would be a Blu-ray disc, because I think the standard capacity is 25 gigs, which is, I think 2 of those would be enough to handle my music collection. And the more interesting thing is, I think I saw somewhere that they have Blu-rays up to 100 gigs. And why I find that interesting is a ripped movie that I have runs about, I want to say 1 to 1.5 gigs. So, I mean, let's just assume 1 gig for now. That means I could probably fit 100 movies onto one of those Blu-rays, and then just making multiple copies of that Blu-ray is pretty easy. So, I don't know. And since I already have a Blu-ray burner, I'll just be getting those discs and doing the burn. And again, I have physical copies though, but they're easier to replicate and cheaper. And it wouldn't take that many. I don't know. I do have a lot of movies though. It's not just movies. It's a TV series. That's kind of a problem. The thing was not roaring. I'm checking the disc that I just put in. I bet you it's a blank disc. No, it's an audio disc. Alright, never mind. If it was an audio disc, I'm pretty certain it came from one of my original CDs, which I already have, so I can just get rid of it. So yeah, but as far as the audio media goes, I'm pretty much all done with that, and it took up, I mean, not a huge amount of space, but a surprising amount of space. I can't even imagine what it was like for those people that had huge VHS collections. Yeah. I started to make money when DVDs were just rolling around, so at least I was only dealing with DVDs. But man, although I did have a couple of VHSs too. So yeah, and but I do have lots of DVDs now, and that's kind of the catch-22. I have more movies that probably take up the same amount of space, but it's more movies, which means more work for me to do. if I want to get done what I want to get done. But that was another audio one. This is also why you should label any media that you burn for yourself. I labeled most of them, the ones that I did, and I could just automatically disqualify those. But right now, I'm going through the ones that I didn't bother labeling, which odds are they're probably just one-offs. I mean, just things that I kind of threw together for whatever reason. But anyway, so that's good. And what else was going on in the apartment? No, that was the big thing I was working on in the apartment all week. I mean, there's still some junking that I want to do. Junking as in decluttering. Get rid of things that are just taking up space. I've done a pretty good job, I think by this point. I mean, there's always stuff you can get rid of, and that's the hard thing. I am, as my mama does say, is I'm a hoarder by nature. It's very, very difficult for me to kind of get rid of things. Not that I necessarily get attached to them, the personal memories and all that. As I look at things and I see, oh, I could use that. I could use that. If it happens, I'd really like to have that. It's like, when it comes to movies, like, oh, well, I mean, I only watched that once, but I could picture a scenario where I'd want to watch it again. So, okay, I'll go ahead and keep it. The same with music, or even just boxes. Boxes are pretty bad. It took me the longest time when I finally got hooked on Amazon Prime and Prime shipping. It took me the longest time to break down and get rid of the boxes I got from them. Because, I mean, it's a box. A box is inherently useful. You can store stuff in it. You never know when you might need to store stuff. So, yeah. But, no, I think I'm pretty good as far as junking goes. Kitchen appliances. I'm looking at the toaster. I really am. I'm looking hard at the toaster. And, you got as well, toaster is inherently useful. And it's like, yeah, but for somebody who does not do carbs, or only does carbs very, very sparingly under very limited circumstances, a loaf of bread for toast, that's generally not going to happen. And say, well, if I wanted crunchy bread, to be honest, I do a grilled cheese sandwich. So, but yeah, right now that's the only thing that's really catching my eye. Maybe the cast iron skillet I got. Well, one, I didn't take incredibly good maintenance of it, so I have to treat it again. And two, I mean, I like it, and you can definitely cook a lot of cool things in it, but the problem is, because you want to use it at a high heat, the smoke detector is just kind of... in fact, that's the problem with the toaster, too. I can only do toast on the lowest setting, because anything higher, even just lightly brown, and the smoke detector just says, you're burning something. So, okay, well, we are getting close to the intermission mark. I haven't even dug into any of my freelancer activities yet. So, we'll take a brief intermission, like 5 to 10 seconds, and I'll get right back to you. I'm pointing. I shouldn't point. Pointing is rude. And we're back, and I'm trying to make better eye contact. I think I've gotten better. I do notice, or I'm much more conscious of the fact now that I tend to look to sides when I'm thinking. Personal quirk, I suppose. it helps me focus. I mean, I think if I look at a person, and in this case, if I looked in the viewfinder, I'd be looking at myself, and I'd be trying to decipher the body language. The drawbacks of being an introvert, difficult time just picking up on those things, as well as one of the drawbacks of somebody who likes to kind of overthink. Okay, so what are we at right now? Alright, so during the intermission, I went ahead and picked the meme, which appeared in the intermission, and I got a good one. It's something I really should have used last week when I was complaining about commies. And unfortunately, this week was not as bad as last week. In fact, I mean, not that last week was really all that bad, I was just complaining about it a lot. But yeah, this week was pretty good too. Hold on, let me check this next disc. How many do I have left? I think I've got like... oh, only 4 left. Alright, not bad. Pretty good. Yeah. Bother to check these discs that aren't labeled just in case I've got something interesting on them that I don't actually have a copy of anywhere else. So, freelancer work. Well, if you've been paying attention to the videos, you can see that I spent a lot of time working with lambdas, refining my method, and on the plus side, I think I'm pretty close to where I want to be as far as the actual lambdas themselves go. A decent understanding of how to set them up, how to configure them with environment variables, how I want them structured when I code them, as well as triggers. So I'm feeling moderately competent on them. Man, I really hope that the mic is picking this up. Yeah, I think, this is why the guys are always wearing the headphones when they're recording so they can hear themselves, to make sure that it's, recording. Now what I need is a sound engineer to verify. This is, I think in one of my earlier videos I explained why I don't like wearing the headphones. Let me see. Last week, complaining about commies. Okay, this week, working on lambdas. So, the lambdas themselves I'm fine with. But one of the things I wanted to do this weekend was to actually go ahead and finish setting up my demo lambdas. And that was basically one more for DynamoDB. I wanted one for Cognito, which is Amazon's user management service. And then I wanted one for making calls to external services. Now I'm kind of wondering about whether or not I should do that, because I could probably just have my UI make the call out, but it's one of those things where it'd be good to have in your back pocket. Anyway, so I wanted to get that done, as well as to actually start or even finish my third template. But the catch is, I was working on this stuff today, actually while the camera wasn't rolling, and it turns out that I need to expand my understanding of Dynamo a bit more. It's brought back a lot. I had used Dynamo before, I want to say about a year ago, but didn't use it long enough for this stuff to stick. And so a lot of things are coming back to me now when I run into various issues, and yeah, so I think the rest of the week, I mean, unless I really knock it out of the park tomorrow before the camera starts rolling, the rest of next week is probably still going to be more Lambda stuff, which is fine, I think, I hope. Although, checking the date. See, I was really hoping to start doing bidding for clients at the beginning of this month. But definitely by the end of the month. So I need to start adding more clients to the list. Oh, and speaking of clients, I did get Inc. or my current client, Bell Music School, did get back to me, and understandably they're still swamped, and it's no rush. I I waffle between saying client and friend because they're both. So they're not the kind that, well, one, that's going to push me to get stuff done, and two, I'm not going to push them to get stuff done. It's more like a favorite kind of thing. But yeah, so I mean, unless they get back to me with what they need done, yeah, I think it's going to end up being the Lambda again, more Lambda stuff. Although that other potential client I have in my pocket, I could reach out to them. This is going to be again more in line of favorite kind of deal. But a client is a client. I mean, pro bono work still counts. Unless I suppose they ask you how much they paid you, but they only do that in the real world in salaried work. Oh yeah, my coworker's complaining about that. I realize, of course, I've never talked about my full-time job, and I never will, because if I was so enamored with my full-time job, why would I be going with Freelancer Joe? And structurally, when you think about it, I mean, you honestly think about it, the whole salary thing for a technical worker you'd almost think that really what an actual real like software engineer should be is like equivalent to a lawyer, okay? I would say kind of a mix between like a lawyer and like a skilled contractor, like a electrician or a plumber. You think if there's one you find that you like, you would have them on retainer, right? But if you need them to do something specifically, then you pay them to do the job. And that's kind of what makes sense, right? I mean, why you would have one just sitting around required to charge 40 hours a week is kind of... Does that really make sense? I mean, do you expect them to be sitting in a keyboard tapping away 40 hours a week? I don't... and like even well, I say, oh well, you hire cashiers and you have them stand around all day, whether or not there's customers. It's like, well, yeah, but since you're the customer, why would you bring them in there and have them sit around if you don't have work for them to do? And so what happens oftentimes is that they realize that and they just make up. Work gets made up. I was going to use something a little more descriptive than work gets made up, and I'm just speaking generally. I have taken this. This has been my observation across my many years within the field, as well as anecdotally from other people I've worked with. And you just think about it. It doesn't really make sense. I mean, if somebody wants software, I mean, there's something they have in mind that needs to get done. So just pay somebody to get it done, and then after it's done, you can both go your separate ways. Now, in some ways, actually, let me see, like, I mean, actual bona fide software companies are like that, especially video game companies, like video game studios. Or at least they used to be in the old days. Because, they would have an idea for a game that they want to get made, and then the game gets made. Of course, now with the bigger corporations involved, they've got annualized releases, or they go into live service models where I'm not saying they intentionally don't finish the game, but they make enough of the game to sell, and then they charge as they finish the game. That's what it seems like. But, I mean, really, ideally, no, it should be a one-and-done kind of deal. You pay for a finished product, and so a software person should deliver you that finished product. And that's the amount of relationship between the two. And loyalty comes from the customer treating the engineer right and the engineer delivering what they were supposed to deliver. So it's not so much that I have a problem with where I work at or who I work for or even who I've worked for before. I mean, it's the entire system in general. I think that kind of chafes me. And then of course, well, as part of the entire system goes, because everybody gets expected to be paid a certain way, certain numbers are a certain way, and then the cost of living becomes a certain way, Whereas, I'm just saying, I mean, there are like electricians or plumbers that, can work for a couple months and then have enough earned to take it easy for the rest of the year. I mean, but I think the problem is, not the problem, but you figure the types of people that end up going into tech work versus the type of people that end up going into, things like construction or electricians or plumbers. You've got people that can adapt to instability and people who don't like instability. And that may have contributed to how it evolved to the different ways. Because really, I mean, software should be kind of set up like you've got guilds, and then not unions, but yeah, I would go with guilds. You'd have a guild. The person would get the degree, and then they go join a guild as a trainee, and you'd have masters and apprenticeships and that whole jazz. And then your guild could represent you as you go for the unit work as opposed to the whole salary thing. I don't know. So this whole freelancing thing is probably the closest I'm gonna ever be able to get to it, which is one of the reasons that I'm going for it. Even if it flops, no, I won't go into any more details than that. Anyway, running short, because I need to figure out where I'm going, and so in order to do that, I need to know where I've been. Right. Did lambdas. Yeah, that's really all I did. That's really all I did. I did the lambdas, and I'm going to be doing more lambdas, and that's the plan. Right. Priority-wise, all right. If my client gets back to me, Bell Music School, they're first. If not, then the lambdas, and then after the lambdas, my third template, and after that, I may go ahead and reach out, try and pull out one more client. Yeah. I mean, that's a decent plan, right? That's a good plan. It sounds like a good plan. And if my idea is to be able to actually start bidding by the end of the month, I'm looking at the calendar, then having a solid demonstration and code base for lambdas, as well as the services I've been working with, and then with the third template, I mean, that'll get me there. I'll have enough of a portfolio, and I'll have enough of a demonstrated demonstrated abilities that yeah, I should be good. I just hope I'm not dragging my feet, because going for clients means reaching out, and as an introvert, a little difficult. So that's also why I do these videos, to kind of ask myself these questions. If I find myself asking this question again next week, then the odds are I am dragging my feet and I need to push. So, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you for joining me. We're at the 15-minute mark again, and I don't want to get it cut off. So, thanks for joining me. I hope you had fun with the chat and the drinks, or whatever it is your poison is. And I hope you will join me some other time. And in the meantime, take care and God bless.